Today, we're diving into the Kybalion, a text from the early 20th century all about Hermetic philosophy. But here's the thing, we're not going to treat it as some ancient, dusty piece of mysticism. We're stripping it down to its core to see if it works as a practical framework, a user's guide for how reality actually operates.
So right out of the gate, the text hits us with this powerful idea. The master key to everything isn't something you find in the external world. Nope, it's an understanding our own minds. That's a pretty bold claim, right? It reframes the whole concept of mastery as an inside job.
You know, it's easy to hear a phrase like the mental nature of the universe and just dismiss it as philosophical jargon. So let's translate it. What does that actually mean for the decisions you have to make today, at your job, in your life?
Okay, so the central argument of this entire text, which we'll see from a bunch of different angles, is really this. Your inner world fundamentally shapes your outer world. And this isn't about wishful thinking. It's about a very specific and surprisingly predictable mechanism.
This is the crucial point. The Kybalion isn't telling you that you can just sit on your couch and think $1 million into your bank account. What it's really arguing is that your underlying beliefs, your mental models, they act like a filter. They literally determine what you even see as an opportunity in the first place.
And this is how it works. It's a really simple chain reaction. Let's say your mental filter is set to, I'm not good at sales. Well, then you just won't even notice those little opportunities to connect with a potential client. You don't take the action, and over time, that inaction compounds into a reality where, guess what? Your business isn't growing. The starting point, it's always the filter.
So, to really understand this filter, the text gives us 7 principles. We're going to start with the first 2 because they're like the foundation, the structure of our mental blueprint. They really define the what and the how of the reality we perceive.
The practical translation of this is so powerful. Think about your mind, not as a steering wheel, but more like a dashboard that filters all of incoming reality for you. If that dashboard is set to threat, you see threats everywhere. If you set it to opportunity, you start seeing opportunities. It's the same world, but you're getting completely different data, and that leads to completely different actions.
This one is just so direct and practical. If your email inbox is a total disaster, chances are your big picture strategy is probably a little unclear too. If your daily schedule has absolutely no room for deep thinking, your big projects probably lack real depth. The micro always mirrors the macro. So, fix the small, tangible system, and you'll often find that the larger, more abstract problem starts to clear itself.
Okay, so if those first 2 principles are the structure, the next 3 describe the dynamics of reality. They explain that reality isn't static, it's a constantly moving system of vibrations, of opposites, of cycles. And understanding this flow is absolutely key to navigating it well.
Now, this isn't some mystical energy talk. This is about practical, real-world nervous system signaling. When you walk into a meeting feeling stressed and anxious, people feel it. They get more guarded. But if you walk in calm and grounded, trust gets built way faster than any logical argument could ever achieve. Your state, your vibration, is the very first piece of data people get from you.
Oh, I love this analogy. If you feel like you're being way too cautious, the answer isn't to suddenly become reckless. That's just flipping a switch from off to on. The real answer is to turn up the dial on calibrated boldness. See, it's the same trait, just at a different intensity. You don't have to fight the opposite, you just modulate your position on the spectrum. It's a game changer.
This principle is all about recognizing that everything moves in cycles. Trying to force massive growth during a natural downturn in your industry, that's like trying to harvest crops in the middle of winter. It's not that your effort is wrong, it's that your timing is off. Real mastery here is about using the downswing, say a slow period in business, to consolidate, to clean up your systems, and prepare so that you are ready to hit the ground running when that upward swing inevitably returns.
All right, let's get to the final 2 principles, and these are crucial. This is where we shift from being a passive pawn on the board to an active player. These are the principles that turn all this understanding into deliberate action and ultimately self-governance.
This is basically a call to take radical responsibility. If you don't like an outcome in your life, you have to trace it backward. Instead of blaming bad luck, you look for the chain of causation. You ask, what was the earliest cause in that chain that I actually had control over? Change that cause, and you start to change the effect.
So, the text uses the terms masculine and feminine, but we can just think of it as the balance between focused action and receptive intuition. All action and no reflection, you're heading straight for burnout. All ideas and no action, well, that's just stagnation.
Sustainable progress requires a rhythm, a dance between the two, planning and doing, and then pausing and feeling.
So there we have it. These 7 principles, this entire operating system for reality. But here's the most important part of all. Understanding them is completely and utterly useless if you don't apply them. Knowledge that just sits in your head and isn't put into practice actually creates internal conflict.
And this right here, this is the bottom line. It's not about what you know. It's about what you do with what you know. Wisdom isn't something you just accumulate. It's expressed through disciplined, consistent action. The principles are just a map. You still have to do the walking.
Okay, let's make this super real. Here are 3 tiny experiments you can try. First, for just one decision you make today, consciously stop and notice the story you're telling yourself about it. Second, pick one small chaotic thing in your life, your desktop, a messy drawer, your car, and just organize it. See if that creates clarity somewhere else. And third, the next time you face a minor setback, force yourself to pause. Don't react for 24 hours. Just observe the emotional rhythm.
And that brings us to the final and most important question. Don't try to master all 7 principles at once. That's a recipe for failure. Just pick one. Which idea that we talked about really resonated with you? Choose that one principle and just make this week a deliberate experiment in applying it. Because that is how a mental model stops being a theory and starts